Hello, good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome aboard. If you're just coming on, if you're just logging in, welcome to the live simulcast by the RAYASTA Foundation. And I'm so happy to be joining you guys here this evening. We have quite a few folks logged in, quite a few folks connected. And I just want to, before we get started, I just want to welcome everyone who's locked in, wherever you're tuned in whether you're in radio land, whether you're in social media land, wherever you're tuned in. Welcome to the show. This promises to be an exciting show this evening. We're doing this for a wonderful cause. I'm so happy to be part of this. We got a wonderful team joining us here live. So for those of you who are just tuning in, my name is JL Joseph. If it's the first time you're hearing my voice, I am JL Joseph, and I am usually host on the program. Somebody's listening to me somewhere. I usually host an on-air program on my social media platform. So this is actually being streamed on my platform. That is JL Joseph Live, JL Joseph page, as well as on various radio stations, including Dominica Broadcasting Service, DBS Radio. Good evening to the folks who are tuned in on DBS Radio. Also, it's connected via MO News. So wonderful. Good evening to all of the folks on MO News. Also locked in on Harry FM, the genuine sound of Dominica. Good evening to the folks on Harry FM. And also, we should be live on social media, I believe, on Q95. So I want to say good evening to the folks that are tuned in as well on Q95 FM radio. We've been doing this for quite some time, and I want to welcome my most esteemed guests who are joining me here this evening. Some of them are no stranger to this platform, and some of them are coming on for the very first time, and we want to welcome first of all, Cecilia Sector, aka Cece, the boss lady we like to call her, and she is the executive director, and she really puts together a whole down the fort for the RAYASTA Foundation. So good evening to you, Cece.
Good evening, Jill. Thank you for having us, and good evening to all your listeners here in Dominica and all over the world. Thank you for having us.
Wonderful. And I want to say good evening to Lucy Lewis Lawrence, who's here with us as well. Beautifully, if you're not seeing her, you're losing out. Those of you on radio, you might be. I mean, you need to come on social media so you can see her. How lovely she looks. Gorgeous flowered top and her curls. Yes, lovely caregiver and one person who's benefited tremendously from the RAYASTA Foundation. Want to welcome. She's also known as a nurse's aide or a ward aide, like we like to say in Dominica. So welcome to the show, Lucy.
Yes, good evening, Jill, and good evening to all our viewers and listeners this evening. I'm very excited to be on this evening. So spread the news and tell everybody else to come on.
I like her. The lady understand the assignment already. So welcome to you, Lucy. And of course, the only man joining us here this evening. We tried to have a gender balance, but I can't play both roles tonight. I can only play one role. But we want to say a special good evening to our psycho support individual, Lester Guy, who has had a tremendous career in social services in Dominica, in various departments. We've seen him at the AIDS department. We've seen him in social services, Bureau of Gender. He's definitely a multifaceted individual, and he has given a lot of support to the RAYASTA Foundation over the years, and he comes on here this evening to lend exactly that hand that he gives support to all of you here this evening. So I want to welcome to the only man on the show this evening, Lester Guy.
Hi, good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure again to work alongside RAYASTA Foundation. GL Psycho Support Services definitely is linking on different levels with different organizations and collaborating. I think it's quite a pleasure, and I do want to commend you guys for having such an interesting interaction that happens with radio stations on. So I'm here to contribute as much as I possibly can, and it's nice to be here too. And good evening to everyone again.
We're not giving any psycho support this evening, okay? We're not. You gotta book Lester on off the time. We're here for Ray Asta Foundation, and if you're just tuning in, I want to let you guys know you can follow the Bitly link, the Bitly / Ray Asta Foundation, or you could simply go to GoFundMe.com forward and you can search Ray Asta Foundation. It's as simple as that. If you're on any of the social media platforms, the link will be located right above this actual broadcast. So you don't have to look too far. And during the course of the show, we will be tagging the entire link for you in the various chats. So I want to say thank you to my Adele, who's on here, she does a lot of support with, she gives Cecilia a lot of support, especially as it relates to RAYASTA Foundation. Also my assistant, my executive assistant Samaj is on there, and they're giving us support this evening. So they'll be dropping the links everywhere necessary for those of you who will be interested in donating during the course of this program, because this is what this is all about. This is a fundraiser. We need to be able to continue the work that RAYASTA Foundation has begun. And in order to do this tremendous work, we need your help. We need your help, especially those of you who have family members, in Dominica, those of you who have elderly parents living in Dominica, those of you who may have experienced folks in your entire home circle or in your home circle getting strokes, you'll understand why we need your help. We're going to be talking a lot this evening, and all donations support caregiver training. That is to ensure compassionate skill support. The donations will also be given support to at-home care for stroke patients, as well as essential medical equipment for patients and physical therapy for stroke patients. And if you've not been following this program over the last couple of months, because we've had a program every single month, a program that sensitizes folks on the what causes strokes, how to care for people who have strokes, and so forth. Now is a good opportunity for you to get the information. We're going to give it to you as much as we can, right, Cece? We're going to give it to you in little lump sums, and hopefully you can catch up. And if you don't, you can always come back, to my platform, as well as the RAYASTA Foundation platform that is on Facebook, and you can grab all of the content on there. So it's there for you to rewatch and watch a million times. We had a lot of professionals, doctors on over the last couple of months, and we're so happy that we can come on here this evening again and share some information with you, because it is very important that you know that every single day someone in Dominica gets a stroke. Every single day, which is wild, because you think of our small island having about 62 to 70,000 people, and you think to yourself, oh my God, every day somebody has a stroke, and we want to be able to provide services for these people. We want to be able to provide care and proper care for these. And it's not a death sentence, as much as people think or might say, once you get a stroke, so I say it. No, that is not it. It is not a death sentence. You can recover. You can get up back on your feet. You can go back to living as normal as possible. And I say as normal as possible because it depends on how quickly you act in terms of stroke. So we're going to get this conversation started, and I want to open up the discussion and I want to reach out to Cece, who's on here, so she can give you guys just a brief background on what really inspired the creation of RAYASTA Foundation. What exactly, pumped this and fueled this the start of RAYASTA Foundation. So Cece?
Yeah, the RAYASTA Foundation was started by Mrs. Jennifer Astafan, who is the mother of Raymond Astafan. And Raymond tragically passed in a car accident. And he was studying at that time and in his final stages to become a neurologist. And he was in his last final stages of medical school. So with him and his passing, his mom thought that she would like to continue his legacy and at least fulfill some of the dreams that he would have had if he were to be here with us. And she founded the RAYASTA Foundation, and with three primary focus areas. One was to support the schools that Raymond went to. So when the foundation first began, we donated science labs to the SMA and to the SMP. And she wanted to focus on an area of the brain and chose strokes. Mainly because at that time she was involved with the Dominica China Friendship Hospital, and she was privy to learn about the frequency of strokes in Dominica. And it was alarming to find out that there are 6 to 7 strokes in Dominica per day. So we developed a framework for the RAYASTA Foundation that would try to create enough programming that would support the Dominica population so that we could deal with the prevention, maintenance, exercise, compliance, etc. So we have run several campaigns speaking about what is a stroke, what to look for, how to avoid it, how to deal with it when it knocks on your door. And we've spent some time doing some training of individuals in the community so that they can be caregivers, qualified trained caregivers of these stroke patients. And now we would like to expand what we do into some other areas to continue to build upon support for strokes in Dominica.
Thank you very much, Cici, for sharing that with us. Of course, tonight's discussion is about raising funds to support the work that has already been started. Because yes, it started, but we want it to continue. We don't want it to stop because at some point in time, money runs out, right? So we want to ensure that this continues, the work continues, and so much has come out of the work that has been done so far. But I wanted you to give me an understanding as to, or if you could share with us how donations will directly help stroke survivors as well as caregivers.
Well, right now, the RAYASTA Foundation 100% funds the training of these caregivers. Over 60 individuals have been trained through the caregivers program. And starting next week, April 7th, I believe, we're going to be starting a level 2 training where we are going to take the best of the first set of people that we had trained and give them an elevated experience, which is called level 2 supervisors. So after this training, these caregivers will be able to assess a patient, see where they are when they first start with them, and to make recommendations in terms of their progress. So you can measure when you first met this person, they couldn't feed themselves with a cup, they couldn't make a cup of tea, they couldn't walk, now they're walking. And to really be able to track the achievements that have been made with the patient and to really provide some more higher level knowledge in terms of dealing with the patient itself. So we're looking to, so we funded that completely. We funded all of the advocacy programs in the past. Now we're getting more and more. We're getting requests for people that cannot afford, that have a stroke at home and would like to have a caregiver. So perhaps one of the things that we're trying to raise funds tonight for is to have a pool of funds that would be placed in an escrow account and would be used primarily to give direct support to patients who have had stroke to pay for their home aid and their home caregiver. So there's that component. Sometimes we have patients that are requesting from us equipment. They need walkers, they need canes, they need commodes. So we would like to be able to provide those types of donations to the patients. And we would also like to assist some patients with physical therapy. A great part of the stroke recovery is to be able to move those muscles and to get the brain to rewire itself to get those muscles moving again. So all of these things are demands and trends that we've been picking up in terms of people in the community reaching out to RAYASTA. And this would now be a case of direct support to direct individuals. And we can only achieve that if we're able to raise funds to do more in the community.
Thank you very much, Cece, for sharing that with us. I mean, you spoke on a few things, and one of them I wanted to expand on a little bit, and I want to bring in Lucy into this conversation. But you speak about, having people who are at home, getting strokes and unable to take care of themselves. I mean, I'm just trying to, when you spoke, I was trying to picture, someone getting a stroke, being at home, probably having probably it's a couple and one person gets a stroke and the wife probably has to go to continue to work, the husband is at home, and I'm thinking to myself, oh my god, who looks after that person? Like, I mean, you come from the hospital, what happens next for you? And you never think, honestly, until I was actually doing this program, I never thought about it. I just think, you just think somebody gets a stroke and they'll stay in the hospital until Jesus comes, but that's not exactly what happens. At some point in time, you get discharged and then you are sent home, and your family's supposed to figure out how are they going to take care of you. Are you going to be fending for yourself, especially what if you live alone? Are you going to fend for yourself? Like, how does that work out? And Lucy, you've been a caregiver, you've been a ward aide, and you were also trained as part of the support that RAYASTA Foundation provides. Can you share with us, I know obviously you've never been a patient, but you've worked with patients. But share with us some of the things that your work entails, like your work at someone's home would entail. What are some of the things you do on a daily basis for a patient?
Okay, Joel. One of them, the first, challenge that the stroke patient would have is family support. In all, sicknesses, that we have, once you fall sick, you need family support. And at the home, different homes, support is one of the first things. And a lot of the stroke patients, as you say, when they take you come from the hospital, the stroke patient, they have to go home. No, you have not something to prepare for that patient. You understand? No, for example, some stroke patients, they will recover faster than others. But those, you're not recovering. So you are home, you send home, for example, you send home, you discharge from the hospital, they send you home. First thing, you have medication, right? You have your medication to take. You have therapy to do. Because most of the time when you get stroke, let me get people to understand. Stroke, let me just go in first into stroke is when the cells in your brain just shut down. It affects your brain. As everybody says, we just review everybody, remind everybody. So when that happens, first of all, one of your sides, exactly, you will not be able to move either your hands or your legs. Then you might not be able to walk. It depends. So when you get home, you are a stroke patient. Imagine yourself. You cannot walk. You cannot move your hands. You cannot move your feet. Your brain is just shut down. Most people can't even speak. So when you get home, you need that support. You need your physical therapy. You need someone there with you. You definitely need a caregiver. And as you said, Jill, most of the time, for example, we take a couple, a married couple, the wife has to go to work. Or the either one that gets the stroke, has to go to work. And what the patient there, what happens to the patient? What happens to that person? So you have definitely need that caregiver or somebody to be there. And sometimes it can be very, very, very I'm trying to find the exact word that I want to use. I don't want to use the wrong word. It can be very challenging as you as a caregiver because you have to be strong, you have to be able to take care of yourself and still take care of the patient. If those challenges you might have, for example, as I said, the person has to do, you have to take care of that patient. Give them their meals, give them their bath, give them their therapy. So, you have all those challenges, and these are some of these challenges that a lot of those patients have. But I want to say, Jay, that I am thank God that RAYASTA came. When I saw this out, I was like, wow. They said knowledge, too much knowledge is not a sin. Okay? Even if I had my knowledge already, yes, as a stroke, as a caregiver, as a nursing aide, I still wanted to learn more. I always want to learn more, increase my knowledge in everything. If everybody, my friends, they'll tell you I always want to learn more. I'm a multitasker, like guy. So I applied and I did the training, and I must say, it really, really, really assisted me, brother, my mind and everything, my knowledge and everything, my skills. So now I'm better be able now to take care of a stroke patient. And I
Wow.
want to congratulate Riasta on that.
Yes, yes, yes. Congratulations to RAYASTA. I mean, like Sissy was saying, over 60 people have been trained already, and there's another training coming up. And people, I know they've been broadcasting for people to sign up, and also to get again the basic training again when it comes around. I know a lot of folks might be interested. People always complain, oh, they don't have jobs, there's no opportunities. This is an opportunity. If you love taking care of people, this is an opportunity for you to jump on this, but not just an opportunity to jump on it. It's an opportunity for you to actually work in the field where you can help people. I know, RAYASTA has also had caregivers who've assisted people to travel overseas for medication, for surgeries, for all these kinds of things. I mean, it's so important to have, like you say, Lucy, to have somebody there to help you look after that individual. I mean, imagine leaving, and I'm saying this because I don't have parents, my both parents are dead. So I always say it's almost like a gift and a curse, because I always say, boy, Jay, thank God I don't have to go through this. But at the same time, I miss my parents. And I'm thinking to myself, imagine if my parents or my mom had a stroke and was home, and we all had to go out and work, and we had to figure out who's gonna look after her, who's gonna make sure she bathes, who's gonna make sure she eats, who's gonna make sure she takes her medication on time, not just taking it, making sure it takes on time, and all of these things. Obviously, that, like you said, Lucy, it's a lot of strain on an individual. Lester, I really want to bring you into the conversation because I know it's obvious that there are lots of challenges, when it comes to stroke patients, and we don't often think about it because we think once the person reaches the hospital, that is it. Once they get the medication, Balfini will sack. But that's not the case, right? There's a lot more that happens, and it's ongoing. I mean, I learned over the last couple of months that, even in terms of recognizing when somebody's having a stroke, how important that is, to be fast. I learned about that. And then, but we also learned about how important it is to give proper care. You can't rough the person because the person can't move. They cannot lift their leg properly. You can't rough them up. You cannot force things on them. You have to take your time, but you still have to keep their motor skills active because at the end of the day, you try to get them to recover. Can you share with us some of the challenges that you have encountered, even through your work, some of the challenges that of stroke survivors, as well as even caregivers, because you work with both ends. So share with us some of those.
Right. So, so I'm really happy that we're having this discussion. So we have to bear in mind what stroke is and what stroke represents from a clinical point of view. Yeah. When somebody has a stroke, it's that some aspect of their brain is not receiving sufficient blood. So it means that they're not getting the oxygen or the nutrients or that they need for them to function. And we know that our brain is the seat of our thought pattern, our actions, our emotions, our intelligence, and so on. So we have to somewhat appreciate that if one aspect of that part of that machine is not receiving what it's supposed to receive, that the machine is not going to function or it should function.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why you find with clients or patients who have experienced strokes, there's a lot of change in terms of personality. That will happen. But we have to appreciate also that there are also what we call sequelae symptoms to a stroke, because you see, your quality of life is going to change
Mm-hmm.
in Ireland and the Republic. Whenever you fall ill, your quality of life is going to change. It may be with diabetes, it may be with hypertension, it may be with cancer, it may be with an immunocompromised disease like um, HIV. Your life is going to change. So how do you make that adjustment? How do you adjust to that from an emotional, mental, and psychological point of view? And that is where persons like myself come in. But if I jump into the clients, I also one of the things that I've also said to the caregivers when we did the training, that the person that you have to be very much aware of how their function is also the caregiver, because it takes a lot from you. And when I did my master's degree in England, I remember the National Health System was placing a lot of emphasis on caregivers, because you have to stay home with your mom or your dad or some family member who has experienced stroke. And it means that your life is on hold also. So you have to always look at it from the caregiver and the care receiver point of view. I remember one of the clients that I had recently was a family where the husband had experienced a stroke, and had already started doing some sessions with the partner, for example, the wife or the girlfriend. And she was explaining how the gentleman's um, demeanor changed, his personality has changed almost completely, almost made a 180. He was a calm, understanding, communicative person, and then at times even his language was a little too strong for the home setting. But it's not something that he had total control over, because the aspect of your brain that is damaged is going to affect your social skills. And we have to learn to appreciate that, because when somebody has a stroke, when somebody has um, a stroke, is that the first response, obviously, is the clinical care, where you bring them to the hospital, make sure that there's no swelling in the brain, make sure that they get the medication that they need, and so on. So that's the first response. And they're going to stay there for a week or 2 weeks until they settle them down in terms if it was high blood pressure they had, or cancer, or whatever other type of illness that they had. But then the real work comes when they go back to their home, when they're discharged. And that's why I really want to commend RAYASTA Foundation for having seen that vision to do training like that, that persons out there in the community, caregivers, young women, young men who may not have a formal education, has to be the one who's coming to take care of your grandmother, or your mother, or the person with a stroke, that they have the necessary skills to give the best level of care that the person can possibly get, that the person's quality of life remains at an acceptable level. And this is what it's all about. So when I'm teaching them in terms of their client-patient relationship, how do you interact with the family? What is your role as a caregiver? It's not only just to come and take care of the client. It's building a network around the client that they feel a level of satisfaction, because they are gonna experience loss. Imagine I'm a young, strong man at 48, and I have a stroke right now. Being so active in my community, being so active in my profession, and I have a stroke which sets me back tremendously. It will not only be a physical ailment for me, but it's going to be a strong psychological and mental ailment for me, because I have my family to take care of. I have the people who are depending on me to be their caregiver also. So this is where I think it's important that we highlight that, and that the general public understand how important it is what RAYASTA Foundation is doing to make sure that the needs of these people are met. So this is what you're looking at.
Thank you very much for sharing that with us, Lester. I mean, that is you raised so many really valid points. If you guys are just tuning in, you are tuning to a live simulcast for the RAYASTA Foundation. This is a simulcast to raise funds to continue the work that the foundation has already started. I am sharing with you guys the links. The links are available. You can actually show your support by donating. It's available at GoFundMe, and I'm going to show you guys. I want you guys to see what we're what we're trying to achieve, so you know, those of you who are live and who can see. So we'll give you guys just a brief synopsis as to what we're expecting to raise here this evening. We've started the work already over the last couple of days. We started sharing with folks, and people have started donating. And we have a goal, and so far we've raised some of that goal this up until this evening, and we want to encourage folks to go ahead and donate. You can donate anonymously. You can put in your name if you wish to. A lot of you probably may be listening right now, and you work for an organization that helps people in the healthcare system, and you might say, hey, this is something that my organization can get on board. A lot of you in the diaspora may want a tax break. We're right before tax season is right around now, so you might be saying, oh, I have some extra money, I can just drop in that so I can get a bit of a tax break. That is an opportunity for you to do that as well. Or you probably just know of someone who had a stroke, and they had to get a caregiver, and you understand what that is. Or you may not understand what it is to not have a caregiver and have to battle for yourself, and you probably do not want that for another individual. Or you might be looking to support a family, and also help train caregivers so they can actually go into the homes and provide the care that is required, that is necessary to aid that stroke survivor to get back on their feet and come back to some level of normalcy. So this is where we're at. We're asking you to support the RAYASTA Foundation's cause. So you can go to GoFundMe and donate. You can search RAYASTA Foundation on there. The links are also on all of the different platforms that we are on. So Samaj just gave me the green light that it is everywhere. So it's on Emo News, it's on DBS, it's on the YouTube, it's on RAYASTA Foundation on Facebook, it's on my platform, it is on Kyrie FM, it is on Q95, Itupatu. Or you have no excuse. So we want your full support here this evening. We would like to be able to raise funds for this cause, and we do not want this to fall flat and not be able to continue. As you heard, Lester mentioned so many points as to why this needs to continue, and what happens to a stroke patient, and why it's so important to be able to give them that support. So we continue with the conversation, and I want to bring in Lucy again here into the conversation, and talk to her a little bit, or get her to talk to us a little bit about being a caregiver. So as a caregiver, I'm sure, Lucy, that you've noticed an increase in younger stroke patients. What are some of the challenges that you think younger people face compared to older patients?
Yes, JL. Good evening again to everybody listening and viewing. As a listening and caregiver, yes, there's a big increase in young persons getting stroke instead of the older persons. And they have a lot of challenges. The first challenge that they have, number one, just like maybe if you get to know that you have an illness like cancer, you are in denial, because imagine a young man, 30 years, getting stroke. He had all his life, about the place, working and all over the place. And imagine him now getting a stroke and you have to be in bed. So put yourself in that position. How would we feel? So most of the time they are in denial. They'll say no, it's not whatever is stroke, and they'll say no, it's not stroke, it's something else, or. But and one of the other challenges that they have too is, again, it comes back again, it will always come back again, is having family support and having someone to take care of them at home. This evening, I am very, very, very excited. Jelly, say I'm shivering because as a nursing aide, I'm increasing everybody, we have to move up. So right now I am doing further in my studies and to become an, RNs now. And in this doing my pre-health, we had some project to do concerning that about stroke. And we had to ask, persons and to find out about the different challenges that they had. And I was used to ponder and said, boy, we need to do something because when they leave the hospital and they go home, what what do they do? What
What's
happens to them?
next? I know.
Next. And Jay, I'm always wondering about this. And again, I would want to commend, RAYASTA Foundation. Because now, I mean, we the caregivers is 60 of us who did the first level. We have, that opportunity. We're getting a lot. Up to today, somebody called me. Up to the day, somebody called me about their mom who, got a stroke and when they cannot really, take care of her. They did not know them. And one of the first things that you have to have is family support for the patient. Compare yourself, you there, and you don't have anybody to not even talk to you, to not even take care of you. As a matter of fact, how would you feel? Always put yourself in somebody's place. And so jail, it's, trust me, they have a lot of challenges. Again, they need, to do physical therapy. You must be able to do your therapy when you get home.
Jill, I'd like to add something to that conversation, because what we found when we first started, is that there were many people under the Yes You Care program and some other programs that were providing at-home care for patients. And some of them were untrained, that's A. And some of them, if they did have training, it was in geriatrics. And geriatrics is really to take care of old people as they age. And the care that you would give a stroke patient is very different to the care that you would give to a person that is aging and getting older. So somebody that's aging and getting older is getting weak and they cannot feed themselves. So they need somebody to feed them. They need somebody to bathe them. They need somebody to help them walk. They need somebody to put them to bed. They need somebody to do a lot of things for themselves. A stroke patient, on the other hand, has had some kind of brain damage as a result of the stroke, and some of those previously learned things have been forgotten because of the blockage in the brain. And so part of the care for a stroke patient is to really teach them to rewire the brain so they remember again how to walk. They remember again how to use their hands, because sometimes you end up with paralysis. They learn they need to practice, instead of someone feeding them, they need to practice feeding themselves. They need to practice drinking, holding a cup, even if they're shaky, and being able to do that. And over time, they will get better, and the muscles will strengthen, and the brain will be rewired to do those things. So this is why we felt it was important to provide training in stroke care, because it was very important that the current caregivers or those that are in the community serving stroke patients realize that you are not there to do everything for the patient. With compassion and empathy, you're there to help them regain whatever it is they lost. And it won't happen overnight. And every small gain is an important gain. And I think that's what makes what we do unique. And Lester, who's here with us tonight, is actually one of the lecturers in our program. He's been with us from the beginning. He was there through the 2 trainings that we did with over 60 caregivers. And I believe he's our star lecturer on our level 2 supervisors training coming up next week.
Yes, yeah. Lester, thank you very much for that, CC, because that brings me to Lester in terms of understanding from a psychological perspective. What would you say actually are some of the or contributors to the trend where we're seeing more younger people developing or getting strokes? Like, what would you say
Yeah, so I think, yeah, I was going to give a bit of input on this because I also know that you asked Lucy a bit of information on that. And I must say it's an unfortunate situation that we've seen a lot younger persons are presenting with non-communicable disease right now. Before, when you heard about hypertension and diabetes and persons getting stroke, it would be persons who are more like, elderly folks, because they've been ill for a while. They may not have been as compliant and adherent to medication as you'd have liked them to be. But right now, you're seeing a lot more younger persons are presenting with those illnesses. And we have to somewhat appreciate also that the emergence of this also plays into why there are younger persons who are presenting with stroke. Yes? If you realize, it's quite interesting now that you're getting between 26 to 36-year-olds who are suffering from hypertension. And because you're suffering from hypertension, it also means that these are predisposing factors to you having a stroke. Same thing applies for diabetes. Yeah. So our world is changing. We can't say it's not changing. The level of stress and how we manage our lives is changing a lot. We are in a race that we are fighting, or a race that we are in, that if we're not careful, we think that we are winning by always being on the go, but we're not winning because we do fall flat on our face so many times. And this is the whole aspect of it, jail and this in public. We need to take better care of ourselves. One of the things that I like about um, the Ministry of Health, and I talk about, for example, health promotion, I always remember the coordinator of health promotion says that your health is your responsibility. We are running behind something. It might be finances, it might be status, it might be the cultural norms that surround us, and we're trying to keep up with it. And it's reflected in our bodies. So we are attempting to maintain a quality of life or a level of living that sometimes does come with consequences if we don't take care of ourselves. And I say that to men that I interact with a lot of times. If you go to a doctor and the doctor says to you, I saw something in your blood in terms of your prostate, and I'm going to do I need to do a digital rectal examination for you. 99.9% of the men do not tell the doctor, I will not have it done. But guess what? If you tell them to go and do it beforehand on their own, they won't.
Yes.
The same thing applies for taking care of themselves, having their sugar checked, having their blood pressure checked. You say it doesn't take more than 5 to 10 minutes. You're passing in front of Wichurch and you stop and say, you know what, let me just check my blood pressure. You don't do that. You pass in there every single day. And one day you're at home, at work, in some activity, and your body changes. One side of your face becomes weak, you can't speak, and you wonder what's going on. You never took the time off to go check yourself. And that is where it is very important, while younger persons need to constantly start checking on their health. Because the old saying might be cliche, but it remains firm. Prevention is
It's
always
better
better.
than cure.
And prevention is also a lot better than maintenance of good health.
Yes, yes.
Recuperating, because it takes a lot from an individual when you have suffered with a stroke to bounce back. We can do as much as you can, but let's say you're a cricketer, always involved. Do you know how much time it's going to take for you to recuperate? Your finances are going to be affected. Your family life is going to be affected. Your quality of life is going to be affected. Your social life is going to be affected. And you're going to spend a lot more money because right now you have to find a caregiver to take care of you. So I'm saying to the listening public out there, it's not just about RAYASTA Foundation and Mr. Guy and Lucy and Jael asking you to donate because we want some money to give to people. We are saying it's tomorrow it can be you who experiences that. And if we don't have the resources, the trained individuals to get you to the best place, again, in terms of your quality of life, that means you're going to suffer. And that is what we want people to understand when we have engagements like this. When we're having simulcast like this and we're having asking people to donate, it might just be you. See the number of persons right now you can identify in your community who are below the age of 60 who has experienced a stroke.
It knows no age. It knows no age.
Do you know the number of persons I'm seeing right now that I've known? They're walking in town with a baton in their hand. In fact, I saw a gentleman today that I sat on domino table and played with, have a drink with. And today he's walking with a baton in town to get from one point to another because he had a stroke.
Wow.
And these are the same people you say to them, the health centers are open.
Yes.
We have 7 health districts. We have 49 health centers here in Dominica. 49. Every community has a health center. And it takes so much
from you. What is your excuse?
What is your exactly? What is your excuse?
And you don't even have to pay.
And you don't even have to
you
pay.
don't even have to pay, which is like
of no cost to you.
Yes.
And that is what we are trying to sell to people. That is what we're advocating for.
Lester, I really wish that more education would go along those lines, because I feel like people need to understand that. So, for example, straddling 2 countries in Canada, every year you get your health checkup, and if you don't go, they call you because they don't want a strain on the system because it's free. Right? So they'll call you and they'll tell you to come in, and you are able, like, I'm hearing, I know of people in Dominica who find out they full-blown diabetic, but I knew when I was pre-diabetic, right? Because my doctor was like, Jay, and it takes a long time for you to become a full-blown diabetic. It's not just something that happens overnight. So when I was told, I was like, you know what? I need to reverse that. I need to do what I need to do. And I got up and I started working towards getting myself, again, taking my own responsibility of my health to get better. So I think we need to continue this education, not just within the RAYASTA. I mean, this is what RAYASTA Foundation is doing, because we're doing this work, you know, to sensitize people and to encourage people to donate. And by the way, we've only reached 6% of our goal. So we only at 6% of our goal. And I'll give you guys an update, you know, every 10 minutes or so as to what percentage of our goal we're at. So we're at 6% of our goal. But this is information that constantly needs to be out in the media, that we constantly need to let people know to go to your health centers, get your blood pressure, do your physical. Doctors come on the district at least once a month. At least once a month, right? It's like you don't have an excuse. Like, what exactly is your excuse? And then you end up with a stroke with all of these young people, like, because they want to see what they want to party. They're drinking more rum than the bottle. And obviously, these things creep up on you. And not only that, the stresses of life, you know, probably your own economic standing, and all of that affects you, right? And will impact, you know, your health significantly. So I think it's so important that people understand that, yes, we're at the stage here, and the stage we're at here is, it has happened to you, or it could happen to you, or it can happen to somebody that you know. And if it does happen, do you want somebody to come and take care of you? Or do you want to stay for flies to come and rest on your lip? Do you want to stay there without food and have to wait till the evening? I mean, it's serious. Like, we laugh, we smile, but it's very serious. Yep. You don't want to stay there. I imagine you want to pass your stool and you cannot move. You don't know how to get up, right? You need somebody to support you through this. And this is what the foundation is offering. It's offering you a hand. We'll help you. We'll do the work. We'll train the people properly so they are well trained. We will make sure that they go out to the people, the individuals that need to go out to. But the only way to do that, because, you know, you don't have a tree that is shaking and it just falling, doesn't fall like manna from heaven, right? Is with help. So if you can give $5, you can give $10, you can give $20. We have 72,000 people in Dominica. If 72,000 people give $5, we would be over our goal. Right, Sissy? And we are only at 6%. That's $5 we're asking, eh? Or send
Any little bit, anything. And it's so easy. When you go to the GoFundMe, it just asks you for some simple information. And within less than 2 minutes, you've made a donation. And I think it's important now to mention what we've really done. You know, that this prevalence of stroke is so high that what we try to do with our programming is to try to lower that ratio of how many strokes that happen per week. And so for the last 2.5 years, we've had steady programming on radio, on live, and on television through GIS, trying to reach people at different levels, even through emo news in the past, to let them understand what the risks are and the whole prevention strategies. We've had doctors that have come on and spoken about how you get a stroke and how you can avoid a stroke and what to look for, because and that in itself has taken a significant chunk of our resources. But the idea was to be able to lower the level of stroke, because when you get a stroke, your life is so altered mentally, physically, emotionally, that you really don't want to get a stroke. And so we've spent a considerable amount of money on advocacy, really teaching people about stroke and creating awareness around it. And that's one of those things that we're committed to continue to do as you know, as we move into the future. And that all of this is part of the reason why we're doing this campaign today, to get some support so we can do more
Wonderful.
on all fronts.
Let me just attest to some of the stuff that Sissy is saying, and I think Lucy also mentioned it earlier on. So you can get a stroke and you can get different levels of stroke. Yeah. And you may have a really severe stroke where, you know, probably it's part of your body is just not functioning and the speaking and so on. One of the things as I have a psychologist that I try to advocate for a lot right now is what you call adherence. Because sometimes people can avoid having a massive stroke if they're paying attention to themselves. So outside of the prevention aspect, you may already be diagnosed with hypertension or diabetes or some other illness, non-communicable illness. And because you are not adherent, you may have gotten a mild stroke already. But you know how we are in the Caribbean?
That new weather.
Yes, that new weather. We feel that the pills, because I'm feeling okay today, I don't want to take the pills. But the nurse have said to you, your blood pressure may not always make you feel uncomfortable. You may not always get a headache. You may not always feel the level of stress. So you feel in your body okay, but you're hypertensive. You're diabetic. The reason that they have given you the medication is to help your body to control what's happening that you can't control on your own. So you find sometimes people do get strokes early. They get light strokes, but because they're not adherent or compliant, they get in massive strokes and it's more pressure on themselves and on their family. And then you find they're experiencing anger, lust, frustration, because now they're saying, well, if I had known. No, there's this old saying,
Yeah.
and I'm going to say that to the general public also. Do not allow that to happen to us right now, where you say, boy, I should have really given a little $5 to ask the foundation. Because look, right now, my father is in a situation, he needs a wheelchair, he needs a bed, and I don't know where to go for it. These monies are going to be used for those specific things also. That tomorrow we do an assessment and realize you don't have the finances to get a bed for your father or your mother or some family members, and we can say, okay, we can donate it, or we can contribute to 50% of it. Right, Sissy? Something like that. Yeah? So these
That's
are the
right.
things that we are selling to people that they understand. Because if we have a population of 70,000 people, and every day 6 person, between 6, let's give it between 3 and 5 people gets a stroke.
Wow.
Imagine for a month how many persons. Imagine for a month how much pressure that puts on the healthcare system. Imagine how much pressure that puts on the healthcare finances. And because most of us are working class people, imagine the pressure it puts on you as an individual. So here you are having an opportunity to give back a little He who say, what they say there, when you cast your bread upon the water, what they say, it'll come back to you. I'm saying it's preacher on all you right now.
Boy, pastor guy.
Preacher on all you. It will come back to you because it might be a family member and you're not in this kind of
Exactly,
situation
exactly.
to be
Well,
able
that's
to.
exactly it. You never know where it's going to hit.
You never know it's going to hit.
Yes,
We have
yes.
so many Dominica who have become alcoholics. And because of that behavior, they don't take good care of themselves. And they are hypertensive. And they don't make the time enough to go to the health center. And tomorrow it's their self, you see, presenting with a stroke and at the hospital, and there's nobody to come check for them. So we are really admonishing persons, please consider. It's not much, as we said. If each of us give $5, is a beer $5 even less than you're buying a car beer right now. In any case,
Yes, yes, it's less than that. Somebody's saying this, and they're saying, no, we didn't leave the diasporas out. We've definitely included them. Don't leave diasporas out because many have families back home that could benefit from the efforts of this foundation. We should all help, right? That is what somebody is saying. And you can go ahead and you can donate on to the RAYASTA Foundation, the GoFundMe. The link is up. We've populated the link on the live. The link is above all of the lives for those of you on social media. And for those of you on radio, you can go to GoFundMe / D358166D. All right, or simply search RAYASTA Foundation. You can find it. I've tried to find it, and I'm able to find it. And so far, in this very short space of time, we've reached 7% of our goal, and we have just over half an hour left here this evening, and we would like to get to at least half of the goal. Not all, but at least half of the goal. And we want to encourage folks to donate. Donate any amount that you can, any small amount definitely will go a long way. Snissy, I want to get an understanding as to what are some of the initiatives, or what initiatives are is the foundation leading, or in order to help with the prevention and early detection.
We've done a couple of things. We've done a series of health fairs. Our first health fair was held outside of All Saints University, and we partnered with the Ministry of Health and the Primary Services Unit of the Ministry of Health, as well as All Saints University. We set up multiple tents. We had doctors and medics in the various tents, and it was done right here in Roseau, outside of All Saints University, in a high traffic area. And as people were coming through, we were taking them in and we were screening them for blood pressure and for diabetes. Now, it's really funny because people, they almost don't want to know, like they're scared, you know? And during that period of time, in the first one that we did, there were at least, we probably screened maybe 200 and change people in the course of the day. And at least 15 of them had severe blood pressure issues where it was necessary for us to call an ambulance and send them straight to the hospital.
You're joking.
And that's why they say that heart attack and strokes are like the silent killer, because you really don't know that you have a big problem. And by the time it presents itself, it's almost happening already, and there's nothing you can do about it. So that was a learning experience the first time we did it. And then the second, we did it a couple more times. We did it in Point Michel. We had a health fair that we participated in, and we coordinated about maybe 10 or 12 medics to be there to capture people's data on non-communicable diseases such as heart disease as well as diabetes. And then another time, the RAYASTA funded fully a bus. We took a big Costa bus, we loaded it up with medics and all of the supplies for high blood pressure and for diabetes. And we went from village to village. We drove around, we walked in, we pulled up to just about in every village, as you know, there's a space in that village where they all hang out, right?
Yes.
And so
The big son of the village.
Yeah, exactly. So we stopped in Maho and we stopped in the market square and we went into the market and we did all of the vendors and all of the people that were shopping. And then when we were finished, we split ourselves into teams. In fact, ever since we did that, I have this sciatica problem because I'm not sure what I did during that thing that that's the day after I've had pain
You
from either
quiver yourself. You
getting
quiver
out of the
yourself,
bus
man.
or something happened during that event. But we went from house to house. So we coordinated this with the doctor that's in charge of the health district there. We operated out of the health clinic there, and some people came to the health clinic. And for those that couldn't, for the elderly and whatever, we walked through all up the hill in Campbell, and we went from house to house visiting patients. And there was one lady that we went to visit in a shop, and this lady's blood pressure was like 180 over 110 or some really outrageous number. And even I had a little mini anxiety attack because this lady was sitting there in her shop. She was
No.
happy to see us. She was selling whatever people were coming to buy. And she was sitting there like a ticking time bomb and wasn't even aware. And I feel that if there's one thing we did that day is save that lady's life.
Wow.
If there's one thing we did that day was save that lady's life. And so as we move into the future, one of the things we want to do is we called it a health crawl. We think it was even more powerful than staying in a stationary position because we could touch lives in different places. And then I would personally like to have a walkathon that ends on a beach somewhere where we have a complete health package of different activities, whether it's nutrition, whether it's exercise, whether it's sports, and it ends up in a family fun day, but centered around health and wellness.
Thank you very much, Cece, for sharing those your thoughts with us and letting us know a little bit about all the different things that you guys have been doing. Um, you've been really working hard in terms of getting people the information, but also getting people to get checked. Checking themselves and making sure that their health becomes a priority. I mean, it's your health, man. Make it your response. Really make it your responsibility. Lucy, I want to get a sense of, as someone who is a frontline caregiver, what are some of the support systems do you think you guys, caregivers like yourself, need to provide in terms of getting the best care and taking care of your own self, like you yourself, because you also have to make sure you stay healthy? What are some of the things that you've identified, even in your own role, as some of the support systems that you need?
Okay. As I mentioned before, you need, first of all, I have been taking care of someone, and I myself, I'm not well.
Mhm.
I will definitely not be able to give that person the care. And first of all, the love and the patience and everything, I will not be able to. Um, First thing also is training. You need to be well trained. And I'm stressing on that, trained.
Wait, before you continue, Lucy, I want you say, I like how you say well trained, because sometimes, I'm trying to be devil's advocate here. Sometimes someone will, their father has a stroke, for example, and then you're in the home and you'll say, I will take care of daddy. Nobody doesn't need to think, I will take care of daddy. And you think that you know exactly what to do. But when you say well trained, what exactly do you mean? Because I can say, is my father, I want to take care of my father. Is my father, why would I get some stranger to come and take care of my father? Why is it important for me to get some stranger to come and take care of my father when if my father have a stroke, I should, if I can afford to stay home, or if I'm not working, I can take care of my father. Share with us why it is important to be well trained, like you stress.
Okay, for example, I'm going to take an example. You have that remember, as we said, stroke is the cells in your brain shut down. So it will affect your brain, your emotions, everything, your movement, your hands, your limb, your speech. For example, now, you're there on this bed, and you can't move out from the bed to go to sit on a chair. The person, if you are not well trained, you cannot just come and just take the patient and just put the person on the chair just like this. No,
Just lift them up and just shove you with him.
no, no. You have to be able to know there's a position, an example that you have to stand, your legs spread apart. You have to be able to hold a person properly to be able, because you will be
You see
making
how she learned the
more
lesson
damage.
well?
You will be
And you
making
know, and you
more.
have to strain yourself too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
Strain yourself too and strain the patient. So you'll be making more damage to yourself and the patient. And you do not want that to happen.
Do you know that we've had family members that who learned about our training that who had a parent who had a stroke, and they decided to come to our training so that they could learn a little bit about how to handle the patient, because when we
We
do the
met some of them.
training.
We met some of them during the couple of
Exactly. And she decided to come because she was dealing with her mom and didn't have felt that she wanted to be the primary caregiver, and felt that she needed to learn a few skills about how to handle a bed lifting, bed transfers. All of these things are important. But if you don't mind, I want you to know that I want to say thank you to Ruth and thank you to Tamara, who just sent us a donation.
Oh, wonderful,
Yes, yes,
wonderful,
yes.
wonderful. People are coming on. Oh yeah, we at 7%. We at
Yeah,
7% now.
yeah.
7%.
Ruth and Tamara just came through for us.
Yes,
Yes, yes.
7% of
Thank
our
you.
goal, and we're hoping to raise the funds this evening, and you can continue to. We won't be closing it. There's also an opportunity if you'd like to be part of our Patreon. And for those of you who don't know what Patreon is, you might say, "Oh, I don't know what Jill talking about." Jill always has something extra talking about. So Patreon is a very easy space that you can go in and you can subscribe to someone's Patreon, and you can donate any amount of money on a subscription. So every month, if you want to put $2 every month, it'll deduct $2 automatically from whatever you connect the account to. So there may maybe some of you who have donated here this evening, or some of you who are thinking of donating, and you don't want to make it a one-time thing. You can continue to subscribe to patreon.com/RAYASTA Foundation and continue to donate. If it's $2, if it's $5, if it's $10, if it's $1,000, I mean, whatever it is that you want to continue to donate on a monthly basis, it will automatically happen. So you don't have to remember it or think about it or say, "Oh, I forgot to send a little money." And at the end of the year, you can always also put that towards your donations in terms of getting tax breaks, right? Those of you in the US that like your little tax break, of course we know you like your little tax break. We know those diasporans, yes, we love our tax break, right? So that is something that you can definitely do. So we want to say thank you to those who have started donating, and we want to say thank you to those who will come on. I want to encourage you guys. The links are located on this broadcast. So if you're locked in on the radio stations, you can go to GoFundMe and you can search the Ray Astor Foundation, or you can type in /D358166D, and you would get straight into the Ray Astor Foundation platform on GoFundMe, and you can donate any amount as you see fit. Lester, we've been talking about, a little bit about, the reducing stroke and risk prevention. Um, Obviously, we know things like stress, mental health, lifestyle; those things contribute to stroke risk. Are there any specific stresses you've identified in Dominica specifically that you think could be contributing to? Look at this. I'm asking for myself. Any any stresses?
See,
Wow. Um, so, Jael, all right.
In your professional opinion
In my professional opinion.
and capacity.
So let me kickstart it by saying this. I'm really happy that Sissy mentioned that there are persons who did do the training and they're not people who actually are working with someone who has a stroke, but it's just people that felt the need for having the skill because their parents might be getting older. Because some of the skills that we teach goes a little beyond just managing stroke, as I always say to the students. It's about managing the person, the patient or the client that is in front of you. And I think I've been really happy most times, well, a lot of times when some of the persons in the class are people are saying, no, Mr. Guy, I know I have my job, I work in, I'm okay, but it's just that I've had experiences and I think that's a skill that would be really good for me. My father may have had a stroke or my mother may have had one, and I see, somebody in my family who I know might need some of the skills that you all are giving. So I want the general public to also appreciate the fact that we're not just doing this for employment for people, but for us giving you something that you can use at a family setting, in a family situation that will assist you. Because even the moving we're talking about, sometimes we know we struggle with elderly folks and so on, and people who may be a little overweight and so on, and making sure that you have the right skills to do them. But back to the question that you're asking. So when you look at the predisposing factors of any illness, they may be unique to specific non-communicable diseases, but again, it's how the person manages it. Yeah. I think earlier I did say that in the rat race that we're in, I'm sorry for using that word, but it is a rat race sometimes. These are some of the predisposing factors that's there because we're all on the go. I was having a conversation with a colleague of mine recently, and she was saying that 5 hours in the night is good enough for her for rest because she thinks it's okay. Somebody like me is big on 8 hours rest. And we may feel that sometimes the 5 hours rest is sufficient because we are functioning, but our body needs a specific amount of rest for recuperation. We may be able to function, but it doesn't mean that we are functioning at our optimum level.
Mm.
And sometimes those things do pile up. We don't recognize that they're piling up, but they do pile up.
So nous là, c'est nous pas même ça nous là.
Remember what I do?
Mm.
Okay? So that happened. In addition to this, there are some of us, because of the financial issues that we have or financial challenges, is jumping from one job to the other. Yes, we have to make ends meet, but our body, the general public, is not iron. It's flesh and blood. It's emotion. It's cells that sometimes needs to be checked. Because even the car we have, if we don't put the correct oil in it or we don't rest it, if you want to say you rest your car or service it, it's going to break down on you. So these are some of the things that the predisposing factors, and we can't say economic. I did say earlier economically in Dominica, it's the challenge. Most of us are working class people. We have a little loan to pay there that one of those bank give us, Monje. And it's a whip on our back. And for us to live a specific quality of life, sometimes we push ourselves to the extreme. Even so, let me make it a little more practical. Look at nurses at the hospital. Look at police officers. Look at fire officers. We are short staffed. Our human resource is very low. So a nurse, and Lucy would attest to that as a ward aide or community health aide. That sometimes when you need the rest, they tell you, boy, come and do a shift for me now because somebody's not well, somebody's short staffed. And you say, because you love the work, you go do it. But it also means that you're not giving yourself the sufficient time for you to rest. And if you're not resting properly, obviously your body is going to reveal itself, if not in one way, but the other. Which is the same way for our emotions, Jael and Cici. that we may try to guard something, suppress something, and it's going to pop up somewhere else. So we might say, yes, I can handle the 12 hours or the 24 hours, or I can work the 55 hours for the week. But let me tell you, 40 hours is what my body can take, and after 55 hours for 3 months, that is 15 hours extra for 3 months, which adds up to another 45 hours that we are putting strain on our bodies.
Mm.
Inclusive of two very potent things that we are doing in the Caribbean setting right now that we need to also revisit. Alcohol intake and drug intake. It's another one. No, I don't want to say it pains me to say that, but it's a fact. We thought maybe that when they decriminalized something like marijuana, that it was an advantage because everybody feels they can smoke. Do you see the amount of smoke people are smoking right now? Tell me in which book, in which life, excessive smoking seems healthy enough.
I don't recall.
Thank you very much. Just like the fact that because sometimes we're under so much stress, I was asking our secretary at our office today to map out the amount of festive days that we have during the course of the year, because we're supposed to do some.
I hope you're not trying to block all the holidays. I'm not trying
We want the amount of festive days that we have, because we're looking at some activities that we have from a regional perspective, and the timing and the scheduling for it, so that it doesn't clash with when Dominica have their carnival and when Seven have their carnival and so on. But do you know the amount of festive activities we have in the year? Rise and shine, rise and wine.
18.
Breakfast fete.
I think we have 18 a year.
Christmas.
These are
Independence celebration. No, those are things where we get, it's social settings. But we also know, Jael, and you probably attest to that because you probably attend them more than I do, that people do drink excessively.
way Papa Lester.
So I'm being honest. That's the thing. I can understand the enjoyment. Nobody should fault anybody for
Yeah,
working.
it's also sometimes people utilize that as a stress reliever.
But
But
excessive use.
But if you add alcohol into the equation, you're reducing the stress, but you add in another stress on a different angle.
And as I said, most of us are probably social drinkers. We go to a social gathering, but there is a lot of excessive drinking in Dominica. We know that. We cannot run away from that. There's a lot of excessive smoking, and that's why at the psychiatric unit you would find there's a lot of young men who are drug-induced psychosis.
Wow.
Well, you
my
know,
point my point is this before you jump in, Sisi. We may see these things as okay because I'm a young man, I'm enjoying myself, and I'm doing what I do. Those things are going to impact your body later on. And there is where sometimes we find there's an increased prevalence and incidence in stroke, high blood pressure, and so on. It's because of how we manage our body. And when you go to breakfast fete at 12 o'clock in the night and go back to your home at 6 o'clock in the morning and dial, it means that your body should be at rest during that time. And I'm being honest with you.
But Lester,
wait, hold on a second. Hold on a second. Let's tell you something. Social going out and because I'm an event planner myself, so it's only I'll stay quiet only so long. I think what our issue in life is really to do with compliance
and moderation.
If you have a high blood pressure situation, or if you have a diabetic situation, or just in general, everything should be done in moderation.
Moderation.
Right. 2-3 times in a year, you go out and you get little sleep.
Because if you want to go breakfast fete, you can go breakfast fete. Just sleep. Do your sleep during the day.
It's not going to alter your life. It's really not. But we have people that have been diagnosed with these issues, and the research that we've done has proven this. They've been diagnosed with these issues and they're not complying, they're not taking the medication, they're not exercising, they are obese, they're eating high salt, blah, 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 all of those extra things. I think, I think our advocacy speaks to everything should be done in moderation.
Right.
And that if you have been diagnosed or if you're predisposed to some of these things, then there are certain things that you can avoid. And our campaign over the last 2 years have been speaking to that. And one last thing, JL, before you take over. in a previous conversation that was being had earlier, it's important to note that we now have a data bank, the RAYASTA Foundation. Part of our work includes a data bank of caregivers. So if one day you're suddenly struck and we just received a donation,
or stuck.
yes, stuck or struck, we
Yes.
just received a donation from Josiane. Thank you, Josiane.
Yes. And there's also one thing
struck with somebody near to you which has a stroke, you can call us because we would tell you where you can get qualified, certified aids that can assist you and your stroke patient. And we've had situations where patients have to leave Dominica to go get tested or to go receive additional treatment. And we've had our caregivers accompany these people. We've had a caregiver accompany somebody to Guyana. We've had a caregiver accompany somebody to Martinique, which we would support. Because sometimes people, I have a patient that needs to go to Barbados and her husband can't go with her because he has to stay home because they have children and young children, etc. And so she's going to face this by herself. So you have to send a caregiver because when she's had the surgery and she's discharged, she's not going to be able to fend for herself.
She's not even able to take the flight back to Dominica.
Exactly.
She needs that support.
Sissy and Jael, let me ring back just a little because I don't want the point to get lost because we are talking to the general public. And as a health psychologist and a healthcare provider, when I mentioned earlier excessive use, I don't think if you guys heard when I said excessive use. You ask a question, Jael.
I think we're fetters and we just heard a fet.
Right. So
we just heard the fet and you triggered us.
You ask a question and you ask about predisposing factors. And the points I was trying to establish, there are predisposing factors that we don't pay mind to that later on plays in our bodies. And that's what I was trying to explain to you guys.
Point taken. Point taken. Point taken. Point taken.
Because
point taken. Lester, do not get a brain aneurysm.
No, I'm not gonna get a brain because you see, I'm a nurse also. I'm a nurse. And I understand that sometimes when we're young and we think we're indestructible, that it comes back and haunts us later. And that may also be predisposing factor. Smoking is a predisposing factor to high blood pressure and stroke. So imagine a young man from 16 years is constantly smoking up to 35, 40, and 50 years. These are predisposing factors. As a young man, he may not see it as that, but it is. In fact, today we're having a discussion today at my department about a young child who's in a family where there's excessive alcohol use. If that child starts drinking at 10 or 15 or 12 years, do you not think that when that child is 45 and 50 years, way before the time should be, there may be things going to be presented? So I'm just saying, I'm not honing in on the fact that people are social beings. I'm honing in on the excessive use, not resting properly, are predisposing factors for younger people. They might not see it, but when they reach 45, it's going to affect them. So that is just what I was trying to highlight more than anything else. Not killing the fat.
Thank you very much for making clarifying and making sure that we have it unlocked. We have about 5 more minutes before we have to wrap up this show here this evening. And I want to remind folks, if you've not yet donated, you can do so. You can go to the GoFundMe and search RAYASTA Foundation, or it could be, you could type in GoFundMe, that's gofund.me/D358166D, and donate any amount that you'd like to donate to the foundation. We've reached so far, we're at 8% of our goal. We also want to say thanks to those of you who have been, a few of you have been on DBS Radio, have indicated that you are going to be doing your donations this evening. I guess sometimes people don't want to get off to donate and then have to come back. You don't want to miss out on the conversation. So we want to encourage you. You can pin it. You can copy the link. You can come back and copy the link on here. We want to encourage you, as soon as the program is done, you can go and do your donation. You can also subscribe on patreon.com/RAYASTA Foundation, and you can donate $5, $2. Imagine every month, $5, $2. If you get true, right? It comes out, and you're able to help put with these funds coming together for these wonderful all these services that they provide, because it's services essentially they provide. I want to circle back down to Cece, and I want Cece to kind of wrap this up for us here this evening. But before she does that, I want to say thank you again to Lucy for joining us here this evening and sharing with us. It was good to get your own perspective as a caregiver. It must be difficult, and I commend you on the work that you do. I mean, just over the last couple of months, I learned about how you need to move somebody on a bed, when they have a stroke, because I mean, I would never, I mean, I'm a gentle person for the most part, so I might think, okay, it's just to lift up the person, but no, you have to know how to move your body, how to stand, how to shift the person. And let me tell you, when you know it, it's so easy to do. Like it almost feels like it's nothing you're doing, right? But once you know it, it becomes part of you. So I just really want to commend you, Lucy, on the work that you've been doing as a caregiver, as a ward aide. I also want to say thank you very much to Lester, the information that you provided. I see people on here saying, Lester, I agree with what you said. Petro is there and saying, I agree. We need a separate program just to educate our people. It come in, okay, Petro? But thank you very much, Lester, because not just for coming on here tonight, this evening, to share with us, but this is something that is part and parcel of what you do on a day-to-day basis. And you not only do you work at this full time, but you also provide support to the RAYASTA Foundation, because you are going to be one of the persons facilitating the training that's up and coming. And if those of you are on the live, you want to participate in the training, you can do so. So just head over to rayastafoundation.org, or you can go to the Facebook page, RAYASTA Foundation, send a message, and somebody will get back to you. It's easy as that. Right. And Lester will be doing the level 2 training that's coming up next week. And there'll also be another training that will be coming up soon. So if you'd like to take part in that, you can do so. I want to finally have Cece wrap up this evening with us in terms of stressing what exactly the funds will be used for. Because somebody might say, oh, what exactly is this going to be used for? Why is it so important that you donate to the foundation?
The foundation is committed to the training of these caregivers. So both of these training components that we're about to launch, this will be wholly and funded by the RAYASTA Foundation. What we have is, from time to time, we have patients calling us and saying that they have someone with a stroke and they have limited resources and they cannot pay for the at-home care. So we're looking to expand our services and our focus areas to pay for and provide this at-home care for the patients. We also want to be able to assist patients with physical therapy sessions. This is very important so that they can regain the use of their muscles and their mobility. And in some cases, we want to be able to give patients, so this is direct support to patients. We want to help them with equipment, whether it's learning, walking aids or walkers or wheelchairs or commodes, or exercise equipment that they can use at home. So those are the 4 areas that we want to be able to expand and to provide direct support to the patients. And because of limited funds, we feel it's necessary for us to have this program so people can be more aware of what we do, and to see if we can get support from the public, particularly the diaspora that are away, that would rely on our services, knowing that they can come to somebody who has been through the RAYASTA program and be assured that their loved one will be well cared for.
Yes, thank you very much for that, Cece. Thank you very much for the opportunity to share the mission, the vision of the RAYASTA Foundation. I also want to shout out Mrs. Jennifer Astafan, who is, the founder of the foundation. And I want to say thank you very much to all of the radio stations and the different platforms that have been on here this evening. So thank you very much to MO News, DBS Radio. Thank you very much to Q95, Carry FM. And of course, I want to say thank you to me. My platforms, the various platforms that have been tuned in and connected. And those of you who have actually supported, whether you came on here to learn, you came on here and you shared the live, you came on here and you donated, or you came on here and you're planning to donate. I want to say thank you very much for your support here this evening. Any amount that you can give, it will go a long way. Don't ever think that your amount is too little. Right? There's nothing like it's too little. It will definitely go a long way. And we want to encourage you to do so, because it could be you, or it could be somebody that you know, or it could be your family member that gets a stroke next. All right. Cece again. Cece, thank you again. Thank you to Lucy. And thank you to you, Lester, for joining us here. And thank you to everyone who was part of organizing this event here this evening. And those of you who will continue to donate, as soon as you drop off, go on and head over to the RAYASTA Foundation GoFundMe page. The links are listed at the top of every single of these broadcasts, and we want to encourage the radio stations to share that information again, and you can show your support to the RAYASTA Foundation and donate and get our caregivers trained and getting help for stroke survivors. My name is JL Joseph. Thanks again to those of you who tuned in, and we will see you another time. Good night.
Good night. Thank you.